Hello everyone and welcome to today's NAA iSeries webinar. I'm Curtis Kitchen, the Director of Publications and Trade Show for the National Auctioneers Association. I'd like to thank you for joining us for today's newest iSeries installment. iSeries is a free informational webinar series produced by the NAA in order to share auction industry knowledge and insight with NAA members and the general public. We are excited to present today's topic on structuring your auction business for maximum efficiency. And before we do, we want to share a little bit more with you about the NAA. Headquartered in Overland Park, Kansas, NAA is the world's largest association dedicated to auction professionals and represents the interest of thousands of auction professionals in the United States and across the world. NAA is dedicated to providing educational programming and resources to help members advance themselves professionally. NAA members are an active, thriving, cutting-edge group who abide by a strict code of ethics and belong to a worldwide network made up of peers, buyers, and sellers. The NAA's mission is to provide critical resources to auction professionals that will enhance their skills and successes, and its vision is that NAA members are the preferred auction professional used in the marketplace. Among those resources provided is the iSeries, and today's session will be presented by longtime auction industry veteran Robert Mayo. We are honored to say Robert is an active member of the National Auctioneers Association, and he's a proud holder of several NAA auction designations, including CAI, AARE, ATS, and GPPA. Prior to founding Mayo Auction and Realty in 2001, Robert worked in healthcare management, software development and technology marketing. He also served in the U.S. Army as a medical specialist. As an auction educator, Robert has helped write the Auction Technology Specialist Designation Program for the NAA, and he's co-taught the course since its inception. He is a regular presenter at state and National Auctioneer Association conferences. He is also an instructor at Worldwide College of Auctioneering in Mason City, Iowa, and operates a real estate continuing education school teaching realtors and real estate agents in Missouri and Kansas all about real estate auctions. In 2007, Robert was awarded the title of Kansas State Champion Auctioneer, and in 2009 was elected by his peers for a 3-year term to the Board of Directors for NAA. Robert has a passion for the auction industry and believes in serving others through his business. And I'll add to that he is indeed one of the most organized, efficient individuals I've ever had the pleasure to meet and also to learn from. That said, before the presentation begins today, please note that you may take part in today's conversation. Type and submit your questions at any time during the presentation, and we'll get to as many of them as we can during our brief Q&A period. After that, we'll also ask that you take part in a very short 3-question poll. With that, Robert, thank you and welcome today, and we're off.
Thanks, Curtis. I appreciate that introduction. Welcome, everyone. It looks like we have about 100 and the number keeps climbing, so it looks like we have well over 100 people online, so thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to be talking about structuring your business for maximum efficiency. And I just want to make a note that we're not going to be talking about auction day necessarily. What we're going to be talking about is part of your business management. So as your minds go towards what you do in your day-to-day business to manage the projects that you have in front of you is really what we're going to discuss. So with that, I'm going to start by asking a couple of questions that you want to answer yourself, of course. And the first one is, are you doing all the auctions you can handle? If the answer is yes, that you're doing all the business you can handle, and you want to ask yourself the next question, which is, can you do more? What will that take? So how do you manage your existing business or grow your business more efficiently is what we're going to hit on and talk about today. One strategy, of course, is to hire more people, and in some cases that might be necessary. But what I want to caution you on, because I've gone through this experience myself, is that before you hire more people, unless it's absolutely necessary, you should see if you can improve your processes and systems and make some data-driven decisions, if that makes sense. Because if you make those decisions because you're not as efficient and you hire people, you may find that that money is wasted. And I don't know about you, but I prefer not to waste the money. So what I'm going to work with you or show you here today is a process on how you can use easy-to-access tools and document your processes to manage your projects and your workflow more efficiently. First thing you're going to want to ask yourself as you figure out what you need to do next is, how are you currently operating? Do you have documented processes? And what I mean by that is, are they written down or are they in your head? Because if you're doing everything out of your head, I can guarantee you right now you're not doing it as efficiently as you could be. If you're a mom and pop and it's one, two of you working together, even working out of your head can be a detriment to your business. So I would encourage you to get your processes documented so that you can not only work more efficiently but create some consistency in your business. If you have employees, you know how important it is to create consistency. So let's kind of dig in and ask a couple more questions. If you have paper checklists, I always like if this is a live room and you're in the room, because then I can get you to raise your hand and understand. So if you want to play along, raise your hand. How many of you have paper checklists? And those paper checklists are associated to a project. This is a system that we had after we got everything out of our head. We went to paper checklists. The problem with paper checklists is you spend time every day unnecessarily evaluating all of your projects and tasks to make sure nothing slips through the cracks. And that's time that's spent that you could be spending on getting more business, taking care of your buyers, taking care of your sellers, and looking for more opportunities to do more business in that capacity. So checklists and calendars, or spreadsheets and calendars, and the need to enter all those tasks for each project every time also slows you down. So if you're using those checklists and putting those tasks on the calendars and the processes and automated, these are all ways that they're better than working out of your head. You can create some consistency, but they're not the most efficient. They require more time to manage your project. So there's a better way. And so I want to walk you through where you start with this process if you want to get going and create more efficiency. So first, you need to list all of your project management categories by type of auction. For example, in our business, we have auction centers auctions, we have on-site auctions, whether they are estate or business liquidation, we have real estate auctions, and we have business asset auctions. And so we have those categories identified. Whatever categories you have, you need to create a document. You can use a spreadsheet, you can just Word dump this onto a Word document, whatever you need to do. Document for each type of auction you conduct, and you need to list the tasks that you perform for each of those project types. Now, some of these tasks may be the same for each project type, but you need to list them individually because you're going to be building those task lists for each auction type. Then you want to define your timeline. Each task is associated, as you know, I mean, many of you probably already understand, is with the auction date. So it's backing that date back up to 30 days out, 25 days out, 10 days out, 2 days out, on auction day, post-auction follow-up, and so on. So you need to define that timeline. And I'm going to show you how we use an online in the cloud service. This is not a commercial for one specific program, but I'm going to show you the one we use. There are others out there that are very powerful. The one that we use is Podio. So I'm going to now share my desktop so we can go into Podio, show you how we've set those projects up, or those workspaces, if you will, and then how we've set those bulk tasks up and how we use that to manage our day-to-day business so that we don't have to be constantly evaluating the projects and all the tasks continuously, but focus on the tasks that are due today, tomorrow, this week, and so on. So hang with me just a minute while we go to the desktop. Right, so hopefully you can now see my screen. And if you can't, I'm sure Curtis will thump me on the head or something here, virtually anyway. And what I'm going to show you is how we have different workplaces set up. So we have auction center auction workplaces. We have on-site estate auctions, on-site liquidation auctions, real estate auctions, and then those are the main categories. And we have some other workspaces set up for tracking different things. But what I'm going to show you today is the real estate auctions workspace and how that works, because that's the project category that we have the most tasks with, so I can give you the best example. So what we do in Podio, what we've done in Podio, and besides Podio, there are other programs that you can do this with, is we've set up what we call bulk tasks. And this is where we've taken that list of tasks that you've already created, and subtasks associated with each task. And we've entered them in here so that they can be assigned to a project, and then those tasks can be made available to us to an easy, manageable workflow, which I'll show you here in a minute. So if we go into bulk tasks, and we're going to go into our Manage Workflows section. And we're going to look at the workflow that we have set up for our real estate auction tasks. And I'm going to walk you through these tasks and show you some of the different tasks that we have based on their timeline. So day one is, for us on a real estate auction, is our file management tasks. That's 35 days out. So if you look at these tasks individually, you'll see that's executed. These are the things that are required to be able to check this task off on day one, 35 days out from the auction day. An executed auction listing agreement, add the client to our contact info into the clients and prospects workspace, so we can then have a single place in the cloud where we can go to that client information and access things like their phone number, their email, a copy of the contract, any other communication, discussions that we've had, and so on. A file ID number, which is a necessary part of our processing for licensing. Marketing budget noted and received, seller's disclosures, lead-based paint addendums if applicable, additional disclosures, title work requested, copy of the keys from the seller, deposit amount noted, opening bid on the website, MLS list price, and it goes on and on. Type of auction notice is an absolute minimum published bid or undisclosed reserve. And then we add the auction date and previews to a shared Google Calendar that we use. Now Podio and other CRMs also have shared calendars that you can utilize. We choose to use the Google Calendars for a variety of reasons. And so as you look at that, these are all the tasks that need to be done on day one, 35 days out from the auction day, and they're defined, and they're then assigned to an individual who is the project manager. Day two, scheduling complete a marketing brainstorming meeting, and we talk about this can be done via phone call, create an expense log document where we track our expenses, determine the ad campaign mix schedule and cost, determine the distribution of the mailer if we're going to do a mailer, and then add some tasks that may not be defined here into our CRM so that we can then make sure that those things don't slip through the cracks, and talk about print ads if needed and different publications that we may be utilizing. And it continues on, pre-marketing and site visit. Day three, 32 days out. This is where we would go and install signage, directional signage if needed, put a lockbox on the property, take our MLS listing information forms so that we can capture information and build the property information packet, photos, video, everything that you need to be able to do the pre-marketing work to bring back to the office to then do the marketing work, which is 30 days out, and getting the property up on the website and the MLS. And here are all the tasks associated with performing that task. So these subtasks are what you really need to focus on. What do you do every time on each type of auction, defining those tasks and the subtasks that it takes to execute the steps necessary to have a successful auction. That's what you need to be building those lists for. So you'll continue on generating mailing list, marketing, our syndication that we do, create and distribute the mailer, and each of these have subtasks you can see. Our Facebook marketing tasks, strategies for that, property preview materials and email 29 days out or 6 days out on day 29, sign-in sheet, pen, simple things. You know, it's easy for us to assume that we're always going to remember to bring a business card holder or pins or some of those things that we just take for granted, but I can guarantee you the more you get this out of your head, the more you can scale it, especially if you want to add employees, which I talked about earlier. If you don't have employees and you want to add an employee, documenting these processes and all the tasks down to the minute level is the way that you can then train them effectively and efficiently, and then they can use these as a standard of the work that you want them to perform and make sure that there's consistency in what they're doing. We know that when we're consistent in our business, we do a better job for our sellers, and that's how we get more business. And that's huge. So I want to urge you to look at how you can improve these processes to do that. And it continues on, and it goes through auction day and then post-auction, the things we do after the auction, contracts executed by the buyer and seller, update our MLS, where does the deposit go, the commission letter, referrals and buyer's agent noted, and so on. Post-auction follow-up, copy of the appropriate documents in the folder so that we can close the folder out and get paid. I mean, that's why we're here, part of why we're here. So all of these steps and tasks, list them out, get them noted, and then put them into a process that can help you manage it more efficiently. So what I want to show you is how it shows up if you make this a habit. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to go to the tasks area of my workspace in Podio, and I'll show you, these are the delegated tasks. So I can show you that, weekly email blast are some delegated tasks that I've delegated to a project manager in the office to send an email blast on 2A and also email subject line. You can go through and look at your day. So today, these are tasks that I need to do. Tomorrow, and so on. This CRM has a lot more functionality than I'm showing you. I'm just showing you one part of it. When you take those bulk tasks and you assign them to a project, to a specific auction, and then you go in and put those due dates to them, it will help you manage your workflow more efficiently and help you that you're not looking at things you don't need to be looking at today or tomorrow. You're just looking at what needs to be done in the appropriate time frame. So that's what I'm hoping that you will be motivated to do. If you're not already doing this to some degree, if you're doing it to some degree, what's the next thing you could do to make it even more efficient? Once you do that task list and document those subtasks, then what about documented processes? I want to give you that to think about. How do you do this task? Can you document that process in a manner that you could give that document to somebody who has never done the task or done the thing that you're asking them to do, and they would be able to do it? I would encourage you, if you're going to add employees to your team or if you're going to add people to your team, that the more you do in that category, the better off you will be as well, being able to train them for consistency and for them to understand what you expect the work output to be. So if you're interested in, this is just a brief overview of how to get started documenting your processes and how to use one cloud-based tool to manage those tasks. There are a lot of other tools out there that you can look into. But if you're interested in learning more, I do believe that Scott Musser will be organizing a class specifically on Podio and how to set it up and start using it effectively at a conference and show in Grand Rapids, Michigan this July. So if you're interested in that, you might put that on your calendar. I hope you put Grand Rapids, Michigan on your calendar anyway, because there's no greater place to network and learn than at conference and show every summer. And I know many of you know that, but if you don't know that, if you're watching this, I want you to know that if you make the investment to be there in July, that investment will have a return that will be far more than you put into it. I can guarantee that. It has for me, and it has for many that are watching this today. So if you're ready to work smarter and not harder, or both, I like to work smarter and harder, take the challenge to document your processes, your tasks, and put them into a system that can allow you to manage them more effectively. I hope that this has been a good primer. I know it's brief, but I hope it's been a good primer to help motivate some of you to do some things that will help you grow your business or just get more of your own time back. And with that, we may have some questions, so I'm going to turn the screen back over to Curtis. And I don't know if there's anything anybody wants to ask. I think, Curtis, you will address those with me if we have any questions.
Yeah, we will. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, Robert. We really appreciate it. We do have a couple of questions, and remember, if you do have some, feel free to put those in now, and we'll get to as many as we can. First question is from Michael. What level of Podio do you recommend out of Basic, Plus, Premium, Enterprise? I know there are several levels. What one do you recommend mostly?
Well, right now we're still using the free version, which has some limitations on preferences or security settings and what you can allow people to see and not see. The free version is 5 users. up to 5 users. So if you have a small office, you can probably get started with this with no out-of-pocket expense. Once you get where you need more than 5 users, which we're looking at having 8 users over time, and then there's my mom, say hi. She's coming in to weigh a package, didn't know that I'm online with 129 people listening to me. So you can laugh out loud to yourselves. But the next service gives you more permissions, and if you go on to Podio, you can then figure out what service options you get, and it starts at $14 a month. I do know that they run specials occasionally where you can get some buy 1 month, get 1 month free. I think you can get that cost down if you really talk to them. Each level gives you more controls and support, so that's something to think about. If you need hands-on support helping building some of this, helping to build some of this, you might want to pay so that you can get that hands-on support. You don't get hands-on support, you just get online support with the free version.
Excellent. Would you recommend starting, for someone who hasn't maybe focused on efficiencies before, would you recommend, whether they use Podio or another platform or just their own process, starting with smaller projects first to help build the habit and maybe see some completion there?
That's a good question. For me, when I started with the checklist. And for me, it was important to get my entire team over. That's the key here. To use any program like Podio or any other CRM, if you have a team, everybody's got to be willing to use it 100% or mostly, maybe at least 80%. If they're not, then you're going to find yourself using systems that aren't in alignment. So I would start with maybe I take a different approach. I would start with the most complex project set that you have, because that will make you flush out all of the things that you need to do to be able to use the tool most efficiently. I think you'll find real quick that once you start doing something like this, you're going to want to be managing all of your projects and tasks and workflow, including your lead generation and follow-up with sellers and all the things that you can do to create efficiencies in how you follow up with people and be able to book more auctions.
Okay, Andrew would like to know, as much as we've talked about doing everything online, and you mentioned cloud-based things today, do you also keep backups of hard records or in hard records just in case something with your CRM might go sideways?
We have a paper file that we maintain that has all the output, all the work that we conduct. So there is a paper backup of those things that are important. We don't rely on electronic of everything. So for instance, contracts, proofs, artwork proofs, things like that. They're all there's an output that's in a folder. So yeah, we would have somewhat of a backup. Although I trust companies that are committed to their product. Podio, for example, I know this isn't a commercial for them, but Podio is owned by Citrix, which is a company that's not going anywhere. So it's kind of like buying your domain name from Network Solutions. I don't ever feel like I'm going to have a problem with my domain name if I'm buying it from the company that runs it all. So I guess make sure you're working with a company that you feel confident is going to be around for the long haul. And it's not a bad idea to have certain things at least on backup on paper.
Okay, and the last question we have time for, and if we didn't get to your question today, remember that we will give these to Robert afterward and have him provide answers at that point. So last question here very quickly, how does Podio work with mobile? Everyone obviously is out in the field and needs, okay, we'll just leave it there. How does it work with mobile?
Yeah, great question. There's an app, and Podio has actually a very powerful app that you can manage. You can manage all of your everything that you can do online in the cloud on a desktop or a laptop or an iPad, or anything can be done with the app on the phone. In fact, this morning we were going through some improvements with my team, with 2 people in particular, where we wanted to get certain documents uploaded into a certain workspace that starts with a paper document. And we took Cam Scanner, which is a scanning app, take a picture of the document, and real quick, through sharing to Podio, we were able to send it and create a task and assign it to a project. with all from our phone. So that work can be done in the field. It's very efficient. It's powerful. And again, I'm using the free version. So I guess if you pay for it, how much better can it even be after that? I'm assuming there's some tools that are even better if you pay for it. So great question. The app is awesome. I love the app. I might find myself tied to my work more than I necessarily want to be because of the app sometimes, but I'm just kidding. I love it. So that's a great question.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you again for everyone for submitting your questions. And again, if we didn't get to your question during this Q&A, we'll get you an answer after we're all done here. So thank you again for those. That note, it's now time for you to give us feedback on today's session, as we've got just a couple of minutes left here. Please see the poll on your screen and answer the questions as they appear. We'll move fairly quickly so that we can get everything in, so please answer as swiftly as you're able. Your first question of 3. I have learned something here today that I plan to use in my business. It's a simple yes or no. I have learned something here today that I plan to use in my business. Select yes or no. We'll give you just a few seconds here, 5 to 10 seconds to select one of those. Really just excellent information on not just on the product itself, but in general, just in terms of business efficiencies. Just really good stuff here today. So hopefully you learned something that you'll be able to take out and use, not just overall, but just immediately. Okay, second question then. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest score and 1 being the lowest, how would you rate today's iSeries presentation? On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest score and 1 being the lowest, how would you rate today's iSeries presentation? Again, we'll give you just a few seconds here to answer that. And we'll go ahead and change that one out now. And for the final question in our quick poll here today, thank you for providing the feedback. Obviously, it helps shape our future direction with iSeries and making sure that we're meeting your educational and informational needs. So very much appreciate the feedback here. Last question. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest score and 1 being the lowest, how likely are you to recommend iSeries to someone in the future? On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest score and 1 being the lowest, how likely are you to recommend iSeries? I'll give you a few moments here. And if it's your first iSeries today, we obviously very much appreciate you checking this out. And for a lot of you who I know have been here before, we're very glad to see that you see this as a repeat tool and a useful tool for helping you all in your businesses. So very much appreciate everyone for being here today. All right, that's going to wrap up the poll session. A couple of closing notes before we wrap up the entire session here today. We noted at the beginning that Robert holds several NAA designations, including CAI. If you're interested in obtaining the same CAI education, you can. Celebrating its 40th year, the Certified Auctioneers Institute will be March 20th through the 24th on the campus of Indiana University in Bloomington. And CAI Next, which is for folks who do have the CAI designation already, that will take place this year, March 22nd through the 24th. So mark your calendars for that entire week from March 20th through the 24th. And if you're interested, please call Lois Zielinski at 913-563-5428 for questions or more information. Again, contact Lois for your CAI questions at 913-563-5428. And as we close here today, you'll get a replay of today's session through an emailed link by the end of the week. And in addition to that, if you're an NAA member and you've missed any previous iSeries sessions or would like to hear them again, archives are available. I'll give you that URL now. They're available at auctioneers.org/NAA-education. And it's auctioneers.org/NAA-education. You can find all of those previous series and episodes of iSeries that you may need. You do need to be an active member, and you will need to log in to access those, so keep that in mind. And finally, our next iSeries webinar will be in April. We have a white paper coming out next month on advocacy, which we hope you'll be able to use. But our next iSeries webinar will be Wednesday, April 6th at 2 p.m. Central, and we'll focus on bid calling tips. So a very, very hot topic, obviously, for a lot of folks who are here today. We'll send more information on that in the near future as well. With that, thank you again for taking part in today's NAA iSeries. It concludes today's webinar. And remember that the NAA iSeries exists because it's about you, and have a great afternoon.